This conference will now be recorded.
It's been several weeks. It's been several weeks since we've had a meeting, right?
Yes, it has. I was having withdrawal.
Yes.
I look forward to these meetings. I do.
Of
I
course.
really do. Don't tell Rick that, but I do look forward to his meetings.
No, we don't want to swell his.
No, we don't want to give him an ego.
Okay, we've got to be careful because he might listen to this recording.
Oh, he will.
No doubt he will.
You can be sure. Yeah.
Yes.
What he'll do is once I download the video, he'll go back and he'll listen. He'll go through it and listen, and he'll pick out the keywords, and he'll put them in a description. Whatever somebody talks about something interesting, then he'll make a note of it in the description of the video itself. So yes, he will listen.
Well, should we start and see if anybody else joins in? We'll see. Okay. How's that sound?
I didn't hear you, Peter.
So we might as well start and see if anybody else joins in. Not, we'll have our meeting.
Very good.
So it's myself, Dennis, Jim Kubat, Paul Frieda, Gary, and is that it? Dennis.
Did you get Dennis?
I think I said Dennis. If I didn't, okay. Dennis is on there twice. You can say that again.
Yeah. So Dennis, would you like to talk this evening?
Yeah, I'll need a minute or two.
Okay. We'll put you down. And Brian?
Yep.
Would you like time to speak tonight?
Yeah, I have a little update.
Okay. We have Brian, Dennis, and Jim Kubat. Looks like he's muted. Jim, if you would like to speak tonight, you'll have to unmute your microphone. We'll come back to you. Paul Frieda, do you have any updates for us?
Not much. I just had my blood test, my 3-month blood test today. In about 4 or 5 days, I'll take a look at my PSA and my testosterone. I'm approaching 3 years now.
What? I heard 3 years. I didn't hear what came before that.
Well, I'm approaching Lupron for 3 years now. Not quite there. A few more months and it'll be 3 years that I've been on Lupron. Okay, and with my oncologist, we're considering going on a vacation.
Great. All right,
Len,
a Lupron vacation.
Yeah.
Right.
Len, Jim Kubat says he's working on his computer, but he does have something to talk about once he gets it figured out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we do have someone to just join us on the telephone. Would you like to identify yourself so we know who we're talking to?
Yeah, this is Jay Curran in San Francisco.
Hello, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Hi. And are we saying what we want to ask about or talk about?
Yes. Would you like to talk this evening?
Yeah, I have heard some people say that if you don't do well on Zytiga, you probably won't do well on Xtandi. That's what I wanted to ask.
So, okay, we'll come back to you. We'll talk to you about that.
Okay.
And let's see, Gary, I'm sorry, did we ask you if you wanted to speak tonight? Do you have an update for us?
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's not real important, so get to everybody else first.
Okay, Gary.
Rich Jackson's on too. And Brian.
Oh, hey, Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Hello.
Rich, we're canvassing everybody, see if anyone wants to give us an update tonight. How about you?
And really nothing's changed, so still in a holding pattern.
All righty.
I do have one little short comment, Glenn, I'd like to make.
All right.
And I've got something too, more in the form of an announcement. But
Okay, Peter. I think we've covered everyone who's joined so far, right, Jake?
I believe so. Did anybody not get called on yet? Was there anyone we did not call on? Guess not.
Okay.
Good to go, Len.
All right, Dennis, would you like to start us off?
Okay, just I got my numbers, Len. I hope you got yours. And my PSA is still being recorded at less than 0.1.
Great. Yeah, excellent.
And all the other parameters seem to be within the limits. So I seem to be tolerating Lupron and Zytiga pretty well. I hope that continues. And October will be a 1 year on Zytiga, and I will be going back up to Mayo to see my main oncologist up there for a review at that point.
That's great news.
Yeah, that is.
Do you recall what your PSA was when you first started Zytiga?
When I started Zytiga, I was having a progression, as was indicated by the scans that I had, and I believe I think it was going up to 3 or something like that. Around that area. I don't have the numbers in front of me here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I started at like 17 and did the chemo and so forth, and then got on Lupron fairly quickly, and that brought it all down, and then it started to go back up again. And that's when I got the scans done, and the decision was made to start the Zytiga, and that just worked like a charm. It just took it right down to, like I said, less than 0.1, and it's been there ever since. So
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Dennis, when you added Zytiga, were there any additional side effects over and above what you had from Lupron, or just?
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell because it's the abdominal weight gain type thing. Is I'm not sure if that was just because of the length of time I've been on the Lupron, or when they added the Zytiga, and just maybe the hot flashes a little more recurrent. But that's really nothing of a serious nature as far as I was concerned to cause any other problems.
Dennis, this is Peter.
Yes.
I asked you this a couple of weeks ago when I brought it up. Did you experience a rise in blood pressure, higher blood pressure when you got on Zytiga?
No, I did not. No, I did not. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So what did Dennis say? No rise in blood pressure?
No.
That's correct. I had no increase in my blood pressure.
I think it only affects about 30% of guys on Zytiga. I happen to be one of them.
Right. But on the plus side, Peter, you feel good, you feel strong, no additional fatigue over what you had with Lupron, right?
No.
Excellent. Okay, Dennis, should we move on, or did you want to tell us?
No, that's all I had to contribute tonight.
Well,
that's great. Good. Great news. Great news.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Good start.
Len, we have a couple of other people. Ken Anderson joined us, and We have a couple people on the telephone.
Okay.
Anybody
Let's
care to
start
tell
with,
us who they are on the phone?
Well, let's start with Ken Anderson. Ken, do you want to give us an update tonight?
No, I can't. I don't have much going on. I just thought I'd listen in, but I mean, I'm open. There's not much, there isn't much going on with me though. I'm just kind of hanging.
Okay. Alrighty. And who's on the phone, Jake?
I don't know.
This is Sylvester. I apologize to all of you. I was rushed. This is the first time I've listened to this particular meeting. I was reading the breakdown, and I apologize. I had dialed the number thinking the day was Tuesday. I'm getting old and forgetful, I guess. And since I got this number, I thought I would just stay on the line rather than hang up.
Sylvester, this is the same as the Tuesday call.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, this is the high risk, advanced and recurrent.
So I have listened to this on Monday, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You came to the right place, Sylvester, and you're most welcome, as always.
Even though you should probably listen to Peter's call because you're really in the low risk group, I would think. You'd be better off served listening to Peter Kafka's calls on the other Mondays, the alternate Mondays.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna make a note of that.
Yeah, just mark down Monday and just listen in every Monday, and you'll be good to go.
Thank you.
I didn't even realize. I didn't realize that about Sylvester. Gee, I hope we don't lose him on this call.
No, we like having him.
Forward to Sylvester.
Sylvester, are you going to the PCRI conference in LA next month?
Well, I'm trying to get the dates right. I've just got the news that a friend of mine, one of those people I had mentioned earlier that are in hospice, she passed Saturday, and I just got off the phone with her son, and there's something happening, I think, on September 13th. And I thought that conference was someplace around that date, but I'm not sure. I'll do my best.
7th, 8th, and 9th.
Well, I'll probably go to the conference.
Okay. Make sure you tell them that you're an Answer Cancer Foundation participant, and you'll get in for $60.
Well, I need to call. I need to call and tell them that.
Yeah, when you just talk to them, or however you go, if you pay at the door, whatever you do.
I usually try to do this by this computer, but like I say, I'm not that versed in it. But I read the message from Rick. I think it's Rick, and he said the same as you're saying. But I went on about 2 hours ago to try to find that, but it asked for some sort of code, and of course I don't know anything about any codes.
Yeah,
so I'll probably end up calling.
You might have to call their office up and just register on the phone.
That's a good suggestion. I'll do that tomorrow.
Great. And
I'll
see
look
you there.
forward to seeing you all there.
Yes.
We have a good turnout tonight. Bill Franklin just showed up, and we also still have one other person on the telephone. I know we don't. Never mind. Ignore me. And Sir Richard has joined us. Or he did. He was here a minute ago. Now he's gone. Rick Davis.
Oh.
Oh
well, welcome to Bill Franklin.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill. Would you like to update us on anything?
No, I'm good. Just I sent Jake and Rick a short note about that renal mass. Everything's good, so I can talk about it later. But yeah, I'm just going to listen in a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. And let's see. So we had Sylvester join. We had Bill Franklin, possibly Rick, but no one else. So I can move on to the next person who said they have something to say tonight.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So Brian, you're up.
Hi, guys. So I had a follow-up meeting with my medical oncologist here locally after my visit to Mayo about a month ago. And after I had a slight rising PSA in my last visit to Mayo, I did have some spot radiation done for some spots that had showed up in my upper spine. And we delayed any further treatment. I felt that I could either go on Zytiga or hold off and see, what the spot radiation did, if anything, in the next 2 months or so. I did go see the medical oncologist I see here locally, and he recommended the same thing. Actually, he felt that if I didn't have to, since my PSA is moving very slowly, if I didn't have to go on Zytiga, I should wait another month or two and see how the PSA is progressing. I'm still having monthly tests done. We also talked about the options in regards to what were the best options as far as the next generation drug, and he felt Zytiga was the best. We talked about Erlita a little bit, and he didn't really feel that I was a good candidate for that because currently it's approved for non-metastatic patients. And we also talked briefly about the lutetium trial the lutetium trials that are going on. I know one of the guys in the support group here is going to be going through the lutetium trial through Mayo because his PSA has been rising, unfortunately, and he did have that occur after chemo, after being on after being on Zytiga for a little bit, as well. His PSA is over 2, and those are all the qualifiers to get into the trial currently. So I'm not a candidate in that regard, but we did talk about it briefly, and he did think pretty highly of it, but obviously time will tell on that. So that's just kind of my update.
Brian, I'm sorry. What was the trial for?
The lutetium trial that's going on.
Oh, lutetium, right? Okay.
Yeah. So Mayo, I guess Mayo has got a pretty is trying to get a number of people into that trial, and I think what they're doing is they're currently sending people to Houston to the endosite, I believe, the endosite session to get scanned.
Right.
But I believe Mayo's also working on some new scans. They are working on their own PSMA, or one of the PSMA scans, but I think it has a little bit of a different, because something about the agents don't last very long, and they're trying to use their C11 technology or the cyclotron technology, I believe, to extend that. So that's something they're working on that I heard of when I was there as well.
Okay. Yeah, there are quite a few PSMA radio tracers coming out now. It's incredible how quickly they're coming out, and each one appears to be more superior to the one before. So that's a rapidly developing field. Okay, well, thank you for that, Brian. Anyone like to talk to Brian about what he said tonight?
Brian, are you on Lupron anyway, or off of Lupron as well?
No, I'm on Lupron. I've only been on it for about a year and 3 months. The goal was originally to see how I was doing after chemo and after the IMRT I had. They were going to give it another year, but now since I've had a slightly rising PSA, they're we haven't talked more about that. I need to see how that goes, obviously.
So did you talk to the doctors about, so you're thinking of staying on Lupron, but just not starting Zytiga? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct. That's correct. They want me definitely to stay on Lupron. And we'll see here in the next month or two, probably 2 months, how the PSA, if it stops or if it continues going up, and then make the decision as to Zytiga.
Okay. So you have a rising PSA while you're on Lupron?
Yeah, it's only been going up. I think the last time it was 0.2. So it went 0.1, then it went 0.2.
Okay.
And what type of spot radiation did you have, Brian? The SBRT, IMRT?
It was SBRT.
Okay. How many sessions?
It was just one session. I think it was 800 GU.
Okay.
I'm feeling better from that. I mean, I was, before that, I was noticing, a little bit of pain in my upper spine. It was very, intermittent. It wasn't very often, but I've noticed in the last week or so that that's kind of dissipated. I don't feel that at all anymore. So I don't know if it was related somehow, but.
Okay. Good to hear.
This is Jay Kern in San Francisco. I have a question for Brian.
Yep.
Sure.
I just was in and out. I'm sorry, but what's your relationship with the LU-177 trial? Is Mayo giving it?
Mayo is recruiting patients for it. I know that the guy here locally was also going to Mayo, and they have a spot for him supposedly. He's waiting to get a call from the folks at Endocyte to set up the scan in Houston.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All righty. If there are no other questions for Brian, we'll touch base with Paul Frieda. You wanted to talk about your blood tests?
Oh, there's not much to talk about. I just had I haven't got the results back, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just had it today, so nothing to talk about.
Okay. By the way, I don't know how you sequence your blood test and your oncologist visit. I always have my blood test drawn at least several days before the visit with the oncologist, so that when I have the discussion with the oncologist, at least we have all the results in hand. Do you do it the same way? Yeah, okay.
I do that too. Yeah, I'm definitely like a week or so. So I already know my results before I walk in there.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but thanks for the suggestion.
Alrighty, can we then move on to Jim Kubat?
Yeah, I have something to report. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So prior to, I don't know if it was prior to I think it may have been prior to the last meeting. Anyway, I was awaiting the results of an MRI that I had of my pelvis because of rising PSA levels post-prostatectomy. And they've been going up regularly I had 3 tests from February to just this past early July. And I have the MRI results, and they are negative. So it says there's no evidence of recurrent disease, no evidence of recurrent disease in the postoperative bed. small amount of hemorrhage is noted in the vas deferens. There was no pelvic ascites of adenopathy, no aggressive, I don't know how to pronounce this, osseous or osseous lesions are detected. So,
meaning bone. So there's no bone lesions.
Oh, is that what that means? Okay.
Yes.
Prior to getting this result, I was feeling nervous, but this put me at ease. And, I guess I have two questions. One, the highest PSA level out of the three I've had to separate, a point is 0.037, which is the ultrasensitive test. And my question is, if I had cancerous recurrent activity going on that's being picked up by the rising PSAs, is it possible that I would still have a negative results on an MRI? That's my first question. Anybody have any thoughts about that?
I believe the answer to that is yes. That is such a low PSA that an MRI wouldn't pick it up, in my opinion. Wouldn't you agree? Hey, Rick, welcome. Would you agree with that, Rick?
I wasn't listening. You guys go ahead. I'm just coming in for a short period of time. It's kind of late here.
Or Peter,
yeah, I would agree. You said your current PSA, Jim, is 0.037, correct?
0.037.
Yeah, so that's a pretty low. It's essentially undetectable.
Yeah.
It's not. MRIs are not perfect, but at very low level PSA, it's not going to really affect anything at that level.
Yeah.
I think you're okay. I mean, just my advice is just monitor your PSA every number of months the doctor wants it, 3 months or whatever schedule you're on, and if you start seeing it, go into the tenths, 0.1 or something like that, and then rising to 0.2, then you might want to pay attention. But I think you're fine. I think it's not worth worrying about at this point. You're driving easy to worry at low numbers like that. Just consider yourself home free right now and lucky.
Good. So that's good to hear. My doctor emailed me, and he was very pleased with the result. And I have an appointment with him that we scheduled prior to the MRI on this Friday. And I suppose anytime you get a chance to meet with your doctor, that's a good thing. I'm not really sure what I'll talk about with him. And he had said earlier that we can wait till it gets to a 0.1. And then at that point, I should talk to a radiation oncologist just to start the conversation. Anything that you think I should discuss with him, or any specific questions? Because I'm sort of like throwing a blank on what I should discuss with him, other than the results, which I can see, in front of me anyway.
What was the point at which he said you should speak to a radiation oncologist?
Yeah, he said it 0.1.
0.1.
0.1. Yeah.
You know what? Even at 0.1, I don't believe there are any scans, even the most sensitive scans, that could reliably pick that up. It's possible for the state-of-the-art, most sophisticated, most sensitive scan to pick that up, but possibility is probably less than 50% that it would. But if he's just telling you to have a conversation, that's always good.
Yeah.
Jim, this is the surgeon you're meeting with?
Yeah, he's the one that did the prostatectomy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You might want to ask him, what the schedule is for blood tests. Whether you're going to check your PSA every 3 months. What he wants to do. That's a good question to ask him.
Yeah, we're the next one is planned for early September. So we're gonna be on a every 2-month schedule.
Okay.
Good. Which makes, I don't even know if that's necessary, but I just feel comfortable with that. I want to stay on top of this as much as I can.
Okay.
So I guess then I have a follow-up question, and then I'm done. So if we talk about radiation, prior to going to radiation, is there any kind of, like, how do you decide that radiation is a necessary step? Is it purely on the basis of the rising PSA, or can they do any sort of additional type of biopsy, or can they go in and swab the prostate bed, or how would they know that radiation is the way to go?
I think in part it depends not just on the PSA level, but the PSA doubling time. So how rapidly is it rising? It's going to be a major consideration for whether or not they'd like to do salvage radiation. Anyone
the other
else
thing is they can
opine on that?
Decipher test. The other thing is the Decipher test. I think isn't that the one for post surgery?
Yes, that's it. That's the one they use where they look at the tumor and give you the odds of something recurrence coming back. Correct.
Right. So, Jim, you could request, if you haven't done the Decipher test, you could request your surgeon to submit your numbers for a Decipher test on the basis of your PSA rising.
That's right. Okay, yeah, we had discussed that. Great. Thank you. I had forgotten about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. I'll bring that up with you. Okay, that's all I have.
So, Jim, this is Gary. I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. And I have to say, just meeting with the radiation oncologist really has helped me a lot. So I'm at 0.05, and I'm glad that I met with him already. So it doesn't mean I have to pull the trigger, I have to do anything, but I really got a lot more information, and I feel more comfortable about what could happen down the road if I have to do this. So for me personally, I wouldn't wait until it gets to 0.1 to meet with a radiation oncologist. That they can give you a lot of information already at this point. So that's what I would think.
Yeah. It's a good thought. I wouldn't mind talking to somebody prior to that. So yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
Yeah, thanks, Gary.
Jim?
All right, anyone else would like to talk to Jim?
Len, have you ever met Jim? He's not too far from here. I think he's about an hour away from here or something.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had his surgery at Yale, and so he's down.
Jim, what town?
I'm in Hamden.
Hamden. Okay, right. Yeah, I'm in Danbury.
Oh, okay. You're near the Canterbury private prep school?
South of that. I'm kind of on the New York border. Yeah, in Danbury, really bordering Ridgefield.
Oh, Danbury.
Canterbury School is up in New Milford.
Right, New Milford. Okay. Yeah, that's not far.
No, not at all. Okay, Jay Curran, you're up.
Okay. So I've been diagnosed for about 2 years now, and my PSA has been up and down depending on what treatment I was on. But now it appears to be doubling about every 4 months, and I'm thinking I'll be seeing my medical oncologist, Dr. Aguilar, on I think it's the 14th, and I'm thinking he'll probably recommend Xtandi. But it seemed like I've heard someone say that, well, if Zytiga is not working, Xtandi may not work also. So I was trying to throw that out there and see if anybody had any opinion on that.
So you've been on Zytiga.
And I'm still on Firmagon.
You're only on Firmagon?
I'm on Firmagon, and I'm still on Zytiga.
Zytiga, okay. And it's rising, doubling every 4 months on Firmagon and Zytiga. Well,
yeah, I think it's every 4 months. Go ahead.
4 months, yeah. My recollection is that only about 15% of guys who fail Zytiga will have success with Xtandi.
Mm-hmm.
So the odds aren't good. You could be tested for ARV7, which is a stands for androgen receptor splice variant 7. And typically guys who are resistant to either Zytiga or Xtandi will have that mutation in the androgen receptor.
Right.
So you might want to talk to your doc about being tested for that.
Okay. All right.
How is your insurance? Are they covering these drugs?
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. It's United Healthcare, and I'm 79 years old.
Okay. Very good. So, of course, you could always try Xtandi since your insurance covers it, and if it doesn't work, you'll know soon enough. But you'll be losing time that you might otherwise have moved on to another more effective therapy, particularly if you know you have that ARV7 mutation.
And what does the ARV stand for again? The V?
Variant.
Okay. Variant or Valiant?
VARIANT.
Okay.
And it's actually the splice variant, but they don't use the letter S in the acronym.
Okay. What appeals to me is LU-177, but I guess it doesn't have the numbers behind it as much as these other drugs, as far as how many people used it successfully.
I don't think I got that. Did you get that, guys? Peter?
No.
What he's thinking about is he's curious about the lutetium 177.
Oh, lutetium. Okay.
But he doesn't know how many guys have successfully run it. I'm not sure I can answer that either. I mean, I've heard of,
yeah, there are trial results. There are trial results now published, Bob, and I thought I had sent them to you. I may be able to find them and put them in the chat window. But I think the numbers were pretty good. I mean, this is the Australian trial numbers. But the issue, and there are a couple of places now, as you've heard us mention on this call before, there are a couple of places where you can participate in this treatment at little or no cost. These are trials to test different agents that carry the lutetium and are attracted to the PSMA. I mean, 617 is the one that's been used most frequently, but there's another one that they're testing in Omaha, Nebraska, and a different one they're testing in Phoenix. And the purpose is to find which of the agents that's attracted to the prostate-specific membrane antigen is the most efficient. So as we've mentioned before, Almeida in Phoenix has a trial going on. I believe they're about to start recruiting the second population of people, of people.
I went to the Phoenix Molecular website, Alameda's website, but I didn't see any trials with LU-177. Maybe I just have to dig deeper. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the trial, hold on a second here. The trial, yeah, I'll put it right in the chat window for you for the trial right now. That I know, I know exactly where that is. So,
I think Jake's on the telephone.
Oh, he's on the telephone. Well, there's the trial. There's the trial. You'll find it on clinicaltrials.gov.
Okay.
So I just posted. I think it's NCTO 3490 838 3490 838. I don't know. One of you guys can click but the trial is definitely there. It's listed. I mean, I found it, but that's the for those of you on the phone that can attend through the chat window, this is one of the reasons why we really like you to do it. It makes less work for us and it's more efficient for you. So that's right in there now. And then, yeah, I know there are, if you Google lutetium 177, PSMA 617 Australian results, you'll find the report that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
And that'll give you those numbers, but of course that's only based on a single trial.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, Jake. Anyone else want to say anything to Jay before we move on? Okay. So Gary Spokane, you said you could wait to be last. The first shall be last, however, Gary, don't worry.
Okay. Well, I've gotten all my scans. I'm like Jim Kubat. So I got all my scans and everything turned out negative, which is what I expected, but because the PSA is so low. But so last October I had a 0.04, January 0.04, April 0.05, and this time 0.05. So what I wanted to throw out to you guys is, what does that mean? Does that mean that I have healthy, normal prostate cells that are attached to my nerves, and they're just putting out this small amount of PSA? What does it mean? Because, both doctors are saying, I'm not sure. It could mean cancer, and so we just have to watch it. But So I'd like to throw it out to you guys. What would it mean to you? I mean, what does this mean?
I think we're probably all as puzzled as you and your doctor, because, yeah, I suppose it could be a little residual normal prostate tissue, or it could be a tiny amount of prostate cancer, and the only thing to do is keep monitoring it and see what happens. Now, what was your primary therapy?
So I had a radical prostatectomy.
I guess it's conceivable that, you know, a few cells are left behind and they're still pumping out a wee bit of PSA.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a comment on that. To back up what Len said, Gary, my surgeon said the exact same thing. He said, he showed me on a chart, very, very bottom of the prostate as it joined the urethra. He said right along there could have been a little bit of prostate tissue remaining after the surgery. And he said it's conceivable that the PSA test is detecting those prostate tissue cells, but they're not necessarily cancer.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
As long as they don't keep your PSA doesn't keep rising, Gary. If it keeps rising, then it probably means something's going on that you need to be concerned about. But you know, if it levels out or doesn't rise too quickly, you're probably okay.
Well, there's another thing going on here too, and that is that if your post prostatectomy PSA is that low, even if and when it starts to rise, you can do radiation and get a cure.
Right.
Most likely get a cure, and that's huge because that means you don't have to live with it for the rest of your life, like many of us do. So you're really in good shape.
So in other words, to do the salvage radiation early enough while it's small and just get to it.
Right. Right. My post prostatectomy PSA was like 0.22, and Dr. Walsh's book said that if it's that high, you're probably metastatic already, and radiation would be not advised because it's not going to get everything. But in your case, you'll probably get everything. So you're a very lucky man.
Thank you.
Gary, did you do a Decipher test on your tumor?
No, that's a good point, Peter. I asked my urologist to do the Decipher test now, so that's in the works. So I'll find out about that in, I don't know how long it takes to do that, but we'll see.
It doesn't tell you anything definitive, but it kind of gives you the odds, you know, the percentage likelihood that something will come back when they look at the actual tumor, tumor tissue. It's reasonably accurate.
Okay.
Might give you peace of mind and not cost you anything.
Well, one last question here. So Rick gave me the name of a really, really good radiation oncologist in Seattle. I can't wait to see him, but at what point do I check to do a second opinion type thing? Because I don't really have anything that I want to do at this point. I don't want to make that decision at this point, but is it a good idea to do a second opinion anyway at this point, or wait?
It's a good question.
If I was in your situation, I would wait until, you know, whether it was realistic time to start looking for radiation oncologists. I don't think there's any particular hurry. That would be me. That would be me. I'm not giving medical advice here, but I'm just Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah,
get too excited about things right now.
I'm thinking the same thing, Peter. So I think I'm gonna wait a little bit because I just need to see that it's actually moving. It's not, the PSA is sitting there, so it makes me wonder what in the heck is going on. But so I'm gonna wait.
Good. You're doing fine.
I'm wondering if these ultrasensitive PSA testing just cause unnecessary anxiety.
Yeah.
If you just had regular PSA testing, they'd give you a report every time of less than 0.1, and you'd think you were home free. And you may very well be. But being that they're using this ultrasensitive test and you detect, just like with Jim Kuba, they're detecting these minute amounts of PSA. Who knows what the clinical relevance, if any, is that?
And I think that's there's a lot of truth to that. But I really, I want to be on top of it. So for me, I want to be ahead of, I don't want to get behind it, and have, oh my God, I got to act now, so I want to be ahead of it. So to me, that's more important.
Okay.
Well, yeah, some of you remember that Moyad did a column in the Us2 newsletter about 6 or 8 months ago. I think I have it. I'm just in the window if I've got it. And it was exactly around the point that Bill made, whether the ultrasensitive test makes you really crazy, and the suggestion that there's a particular patient who has suffered through this for the last 9 or 10 years, who's on the patient advocates committee, and he's recommending that the urologists, radiation oncologists discuss with their patient what type of test they would like, so at least they have the opportunity to make a decision. And I think it's a really good point, because I think sometimes the anxiety that's generated from these small variances, I mean, the test just isn't that reliable at this level. It's an indicator, but it's just not reliable. And for those people that are anxious and nervous naturally, it can give them, it can do more damage than it can do good for the early intervention. Because as we've heard, you're not going to intervene until your PSA gets significantly higher. So does it really matter?
It matters how, you kind of, if you see it going up, then you're kind of thinking when you're going to actually have to intervene. So you're kind of thinking about it. But I agree, if somebody is really stressed out about it, that's a whole different thing. I just more like, that would help me to plan out my January, so I'm not all that stressed out about it. It's just, whatever.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with Rick. The one caveat I would put in there is a situation like I had when the cat's out of the bag. If you've already had extracapular extension and you've had to have your seminal vesicles removed, or they found to the lymph nodes, pelvic lymph nodes or something, then you might want to look more carefully and more regularly. But if it was contained within the prostate at the time of the RP, I would got a much better chance of.
Totally agree, Peter.
Yeah.
All right. Jake, you said you had a little news for us of some kind.
Well, yeah, it's not really news. It's I think Rick and you, Len, will be probably proud of me, a little bit proud of me anyway. You told me in the past that Zometa is not necessary every month. At 3 months is just as good. And so, as I get a 4-month injection of Lupron, I decided to just split the difference and go every 2 months. You know, it's not 1 month anymore. I'm going to do not 3 months. I'm going to do 2 months, and you know, of course, that'll reduce my number of PSAs. So as long as my PSA doesn't start rising, I'm going to continue with that plan. So.
Yes, we are proud of you, Jake. We were proud of you before, but we're even more proud now.
Here, here, we're proud. Yes, absolutely.
I do listen. I do take advice. It takes me a while. I'm slow as molasses, but I do take advice. You know, so that was my only news. And just as an aside, I do get my PSA done at my doctor, my oncologist. So, you know, of course, if there's, and I get a result of it, you know, within a week or so. So if there's a question or an issue, I'll call her. But otherwise, you know, she doesn't sit there and review the latest results that are 2 or 3 days old. You know, they're a week old. They're from the previous. Now it's going to be the previous 60 days. So, but that's been working, you know, for me so far. My PSA has been holding steady at 0.7 on Lupron and Xtandi, and you know, as long as that remains the case, and I think I'm doing the right thing.
Okay.
Pat myself on the back.
Good job, Jake.
And I think, Peter, you also mentioned you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just want to pass this on. Just before I signed on, I read my emails, and there was something from PCRI where they've got some kind of recruitment opportunity going on, and for anybody who's metastatic, who's castrate resistant, either metastatic or non-metastatic. If you want to participate in their survey and interview thing, they're offering free admission for 2 to the conference, plus breakfast, plus a set of tapes from last year's conference. Anyway, they're looking for people to participate in a survey of some kind. So if you know of anybody who falls into that category, who's thinking about going to it, it is castrate resistant, you might want to look that up.
As I recall, Peter, they said you had to have been diagnosed within the past 2 years. Is that right?
Within the past 18 months, I read for metastatic disease. And I don't remember if it said anything. I think 2 years, yeah, for the if you're non-metastatic.
Okay.
Len, Les has joined us while we were talking. You might want to touch base with him.
Yeah, I noticed that. Les, would you like to speak tonight?
Well, I got in a little bit late. I understood that you talked a little bit about this LU-177 PSMA treatment. Was that correct? Were you talking about that when I signed in?
A little bit, yeah. What did you want to know?
That was a little interesting in that I did go to my doctor, Dr. Eugene Kwan, in Mayo Clinic, and when I first entered there, I asked him or made some comment about that. I saw that he was going to be speaking at that Prostate Cancer Research Institute thing coming up in September, and you know, he said yes, and he didn't know what he was going to talk about yet. But then after we talked a little bit, he said that, hey, I might talk about something, this LU-177 PSMA. So he may be talking about that. I don't know. It just seemed to be quite a coincidence there. Was there anything noteworthy on that, any new about that issue before I signed on?
Les, are you using the computer or the phone?
I'm using the computer.
Okay, well, Rick put in a link in the chat window to lutetium-177 trial, and then he also posted actual results. Looks like it must have been a phase 1 or 2. It's only a total of 30 men. And he indicated there 17 of 30 men had a greater than 50% decline in PSA from lutetium-177, PSMA 617.
Okay.
Oh, you see the link?
Yes. Well, I see the message there. You just click on it for the link.
No, go above it. Above it, there's the actual report, and above that, there's the reference to the Phoenix trial.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I found it there now.
Right. And then there's also a trial going on in Omaha. I'm wondering, I don't know for sure, but I'm wondering if that's through Nordstrom. I don't know. I've got to, Art Boosie sent me a note. I haven't had a chance to respond to it yet. But Art Boosie sent me a note and said that he's looking at doing a lutetium-177 in Omaha with a different agent that I hadn't heard of before. I can tell you, just give me a second and I'll tell you what that agent is that is carrying the radionuclide to the cells. It's here, hold on. So it's Endosite. Oh no, wait a minute. Endosite is PSMA 617, I think. I think Endosite is the same as PSMA 617. I stand corrected. Anyway, he's talking about doing that in Omaha. I mean, frankly, I don't know why if somebody wanted to do this, they wouldn't do it with Almeida. If it were me, I would, because it's not going to cost me anything. If you do it with these...
Eric Anderson.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
You know, I did call the Phoenix trial and talk to his assistant, and the trial isn't free. It's $3,000.
Oh, well, that's new, because when I spoke to him one-on-one about 2 months ago, he said it would just be incidental costs. So
Yeah.
maybe that was in the first cohort, and now in the second cohort, they've decided to raise the prices.
Probably because it's showing some, effectiveness, and probably that's what's going on.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Ken. That's new information for me. But it's still a heck of a lot cheaper than the other centers that are between 7,000 and 11,000 per session. Is this 3,000 in total or 3,000 per session?
Well, they just told me that to participate in the trial was $3,000. So to answer, I don't know any more than what the assistant told me over the phone. I was going to go down and meet with them, but I wasn't sure. I think it's $3,000 for the whole thing.
Yeah, which is a great deal. Which is like I think it's three treatments, so that's like $1,000 a treatment. And I think I know that in LA, Steve Bornstein paid about 11,000. I think Rob is paying 7,000 or 8,000. So $1,000 per session is a really good deal. But of course, it's with whatever, I can't remember what it's called, P2 or something. I remember, and I can't remember the name of the agent, but it's not PSMA.
Insurance doesn't pick up any of that? It's because it's still experimental?
Yeah, I think that's probably correct, Jake. I'm not certain, but I think.
No, that is correct, because I called. Well, at least Blue Cross does not.
Yeah.
This is Jay Kern in San Francisco. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just need to excuse myself. I've got to get up at 4 in the morning. I'm on the East Coast and got an early flight to catch. And Rick and Peter already know about this, so I'll let them take over, and I'll say goodnight to everybody.
Okay, but Len, that's only 2 hours from now.
Oh, your time, yeah. Well, for me, 7 hours.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Have a good trip, Len.
All right.
You're up,
Jay
Peter.
Kern in San Francisco.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I don't have this information in hand, but a person I was talking to was saying that the lutetium 177 with the 617, one of them was hard on your liver and the other one was hard on your kidneys. But that might be a small price to pay, depending where you're at.
Well, I mean, it's true. And it's, you know, Rob's having a heck of a time right now with his kidneys. And some of it has to do, obviously, with the lutetium 177. But then there are other people I know that have taken it that, you know, have done much better, but they might not have gotten the results. I mean, the lutetium appears to have pulled Rob's PSA down from over 1,000 to about 250.
Wow.
But at the same time, he's too sick right now from the collateral comorbidities, from the collateral side effects, the comorbidities, to go through the next session. So he's hoping to get out. I heard tonight that he's hoping to get out the hospital tomorrow. But you know, he's got certain benchmarks he has to reach before they'll do another treatment, which of course he's very eager to reach. But I didn't know that specifically it affects the kidneys. In Rob's case, he's always had a problem with his kidneys. He's had stents for years. But you could well be right. I mean,
well, the thing that I noticed. Go ahead.
If you read that, abstract that I posted, it doesn't cite the kidneys. I mean, it doesn't really cite major side effects. I mean, let's just open it again and see. So this is from PubMed. I found this on PubMed, and the findings says there were no treatment-related deaths, but I don't believe that because we know a guy, Paul Hobson, died. So I don't get it. How they decided that Paul was not his death was not treatment-related, I don't understand. Because this was the Australian trial that they're reporting on. So, you know, it makes you wonder how stuff gets reported when anecdotally you actually know someone who was in the trial and who passed away. But it says there were no treatment-related deaths. The most common toxic effects related to lutetium 177 PSMA 617 were grade 1 dry mouth, recorded in 87% of the patients, grade 1 and 2 transient nausea, and grade 1 and 2 fatigue. Grade 3 or 4 thrombocytopenia, possibly attributed. So that's, I think I'm not sure what thrombocytopenia is exactly. Len's left us, but I think it's some sort of clots. It's some sort of clotting related, and that occurred in 4 people.
Yeah, I believe you're right, Rick. Thrombo means clot.
Right. So it doesn't mention anything, you know, here you had 30 patients, it does not mention kidneys or anemia or low blood counts.
Okay.
This was the Peter MacCallum Centre trial in Melbourne, Australia, by the way. So, yeah. Have you, let's go back to Les. Les, have you decided whether you're going to see a medical oncologist or not?
Well, after our last chat with Dr. Eugene Kwan, I'm swaying a little bit more toward doing that radiation that he was recommending. And they claim that the radiation is not covering the same area that was radiated before. So I'm swaying more toward going with the radiation.
Mm-hmm. Well, Peter's your man on that.
Yeah, Les and I have talked and exchanged emails. Yeah, similar situation. Did you talk to them at Mayo about the proton beam therapy? Did you get any way with that?
I did talk to him about it, and well, he was the one that brought it up. This Dr. Davis, Brian Davis, I guess. He was the one that brought it up, but I had inquired after that, and I didn't get a clear picture as to what they were going to do. Well, I asked him at the time if they were planning on doing that, and he said, "Well, we'll decide later." Well, which, photon or proton or whatever they were going to do, I don't know. It was almost like we'll decide when we get there.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know how much prostate proton beam work they do. I'm unclear about that.
Yeah, he bragged about it at the time. He said, it does this and it does that. And I said, well, okay. Well, are you going to do that then? Well, we don't know. So a little bit unclear as to what which one they're going to do.
Interesting.
I need to make a clarification on the thrombocytopenia. This is Jake. Thrombocytopenia is a condition in which you have a low blood platelet count, and platelets are the colorless blood cells that help your blood clot. So,
right, okay.
Thrombo's not a clotting thing itself. It's what.
Okay, so thrombocytopenia are low platelets.
Yeah.
Okay. Fancy name for low platelets. Well, Les, you just got to tie him down. It's no good. I mean, if you're walking out there out of that session saying, well, I don't really understand what he told me, it's up to you to say to the docs, I don't get it. I want to know. Because how else can you make a treatment decision? All right, now, when are they going to tell you?
Yes, I was a little bit disappointed that that was not pinned down. I did send a message back to his office, but I didn't get a response from him. I got a response from a nurse, but didn't really answer yes or no as far as which one they were going to do.
We try on this call to encourage you guys in your appointments to advocate for yourself and to walk out of, I mean, this is general. This is not about Les and seeing Kwan or Davis or wherever he saw. But for everybody who listens to this recording and listens to our calls on a regular basis, one of the reasons we hold these calls to try and support you and encourage you to be your best advocate. And it's disappointing to me personally when somebody walks out and says, well, you know, I was disappointed with what the doctor told me, or that the doctor wasn't clear, because my response to that is, well, it's your responsibility to make the doctor be clear and to push him, and not walk out afterwards and say, oh, you know, I'm sorry, you know, the doctor just didn't say enough for me. No, you're in there, you're in front of him, you know, write your questions down, give him a copy. You know, maybe a question in your case, Les, should be, which treatment are you giving me? I'd like to know which treatment you're going to recommend and why. And if the guy says we don't know yet, then you come back and you say, well, I need to know because I've got to make some decisions whether I do my treatment here or not. I need to know how you're going to treat me. And oftentimes you'll find, I think, and you know, Len and others on this call, and Dennis maybe can respond, but I think you'll find that if you take the bull by the horns and push the doctor, a lot of times you're going to get a better response than you expected, because these doctors will, you know, they'll waffle unless you pin them down. So we want you to feel comfortable enough to pin them down.
Well, when I did ask him, I did ask outright, are you going to do those in the proton beam? And he said, we don't know at this point. He said, we won't know until later. Well, I don't know if asking him again is going to help. I can try.
Yeah, did you say to him, you see, the next question is, well, what is later and what's going to make you decide? Can you tell me what your decision-making points are? That's the follow-up. And that's the follow-up now. Because, you know, when he says that to you, you're just as frustrated, but you go back to him and you say, okay, what is it that's going to indicate to you that you want to give me regular or you want to give me PBRT?
Okay, I will try again. I'll send another message. Hopefully they'll give me a little more definitive answer this time.
You might, Les, you might want to talk to Quan on this one, because I mean his whole game is oligometastatic disease, and he's been doing that for years. And I know that he keeps statistics on this stuff, and just ask him, you know, whether he's found a difference or benefit to proton versus photon, because he speaks on this subject quite a bit. He's been doing it for years. He's a big proponent of radiation. Curious to see what his thoughts are.
It's going to be difficult to contact Dr. Quan and have him answer what I have found. If I would go in to visit him again and ask him personally, I'm sure he'd answer. But if I send a message, I never get an answer from him anymore. It's always some nurse or somebody that answers, and I don't believe he ever sees the message.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's. I'm obviously we can't answer that. Brian, what's been your experience interfacing with Quan and trying to get him to respond to you definitively?
I have noticed recently that he has been a little harder to get a hold of. But when I've corresponded with the other people there, whether it's the physician's assistants or whoever, I usually get the answers I need. Sometimes, yeah, you got to ask once or twice, but I usually try to go in prepared to the meeting and try to get all my questions answered. I haven't had to do a lot of follow-up, and then having this other guy here locally that I can bounce things off of helps as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he does seem to be a little harder to get a hold of. I'm not sure what's going on, but I think he's got a number of patients, and I know that one of his staff had left a little while ago, and that created a little bit of a gap. But
yes, when Susan McDowell was there, I liked that situation because Dr. Kwan would come in and talk for a couple of minutes, and then off he'd go. And then Susan McDowell would explain all that to us. She would take the time, but after she left, I haven't been able to get much from Dr. Kwan. He's too much in and out, and no one else in the office seems to be able to fill in. And I had asked him when we were there, I think in May, if he was going to get a replacement for Susan McDowell, and he said no.
well, actually, when I was there the last time, there was a new person in the room with me, with him, who he was training. But besides that, they also have I think Christine, who's the physician assistant. But I only met Susan once in the past, and she was pretty good. But I know they're, again, he was training someone when I was there, and the other person I dealt with was pretty good as well. So
I will ask him this specific question next month at the PCRI conference. And I'll let you know what his answer is.
Okay. I'm anxious to get a copy of that, a DVD of that conference. I don't know how soon they will be out, after the conference, but I have been getting those as soon as they're out.
Yeah, they'll send out notice when they have them available.
Oh, okay.
So on a different subject, are we done with this subject? I've got a small question. Actually, probably I should have asked Len before he left, because it relates to drugs. So Zytiga comes with prednisone, and I've been on for now 4 months or so, maybe 4.5 months. Came together. I just naturally, when I wake up and piss at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, I take Zytiga and prednisone. And I've been doing that all along like that. And the other day, I woke up, I couldn't go back to sleep, so I turned the light on, and I was reading the bottle of prednisone, take with food. And I said, oh, that's interesting, because I've been, for 4 months, I've been taking it on an empty stomach and not eating anything for several hours afterwards. It's been working fine as far as I know. Does anybody have any input on that? Does prednisone work better with food? Does it really make any difference?
This is Jay Curran in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I take the Zytiga about 6 in the morning, and then I start my breakfast, and I take the prednisone about halfway through the breakfast. And I guess that's what I was told to do.
Yeah, this is Dennis, Peter. I'm one that tends to read the labels and follows directions pretty closely. So I generally get up 4 or 5 o'clock, take my Zytiga, and that depended on whether I've got plans to play golf that day. And we've been playing early in the morning, so I need to get up sometimes at 4. And I take it empty stomach, as they say, and wait at least an hour before eating, which is what I do. And it's been working great, so I can't complain too much.
When do you take the prednisone? At the same time?
With my breakfast, an hour after I take the Zytiga.
Okay, well, maybe I'll change. And I mean, I tend to think of it, if it's not broke, try to fix it, but maybe I should change and take it later with everything else. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an inconvenience, from my standpoint, having to get up earlier than it would be otherwise. But, I mean, the only other option might be eventually if we get to the point where they are accepting taking the lower dose Zytiga with a low-fat breakfast, whatever that might be, they don't say, but that would be the only improvement that I could think of, both from a cost standpoint and less drugs than what I need, if it really works that well for everybody.
Yeah, when to take too many supplements and drugs and stuff, and you have to take them at different times of day, it can get really confusing. I try to streamline it the best I can and take everything in the morning. Now I've got a new one that the heart doctor told me I got to take in the evenings. Just trying to remember that kind of regimen it drives you nuts.
Well, what helped me is I've got one of these weekly pill box from Monday or Sunday through Saturday, and put everything in there for each day that I need. And as they disappear, I know I've taken everything.
Right, I do that. But I do it first thing in the morning. And now I've got another one I've got to take in the evening. So go figure. Yeah. Does anybody else have something they want to bring up? We've lost Rick. He said good night to us.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone to bed to get some shut eye. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, Peter, encourage anyone who's on the call to join the inner conversations on Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I was going to call on Gary because he is going to be the moderator on Wednesday night, but he had to leave also. So it's a good call. It's when we talk about emotions, no technical stuff. And we do have topics that we talk about now. Generally, the topics change from week to week to kind of keep things interesting. So I hope you'll join.
Good.
Thank you.
So I think I've mentioned this before because I had a personal experience with it, but I have a buddy of mine just had an operation at UCSF the other day, not for his prostate cancer, but for something else he was dealing with a respiratory issue. And they knocked him out, with anesthesia. And he woke up, and he had urinary retention. And this happened to me last year. I had a benign tumor removed on my neck, and I came home, and that night, I shut down. I couldn't pee, and I knew well what was going on because I had urinary retention before my prostatectomy for 8 months, so I knew what was going on. And I got on the internet and started researching it, and sure enough, it said for guys over 50, you can often get urinary retention from anesthesia, and it should clear up after 24 hours or so. But they never told me that at the hospital. And this friend of mine too, when he had the surgery at UCSF, he was in the hospital and they had to put him on a catheter, and then he didn't know whether he'd be staying on a catheter because he still couldn't pee. And they were talking self-catheterization, and finally his urination came back. But it's something that they just don't. I don't know why they don't tell you that this is a common side effect for guys over 50. That that you can close down for a short period of time, a day. It's enough to freak you out. But written material they give you at the hospital, it's never mentioned. You gotta dig for it. I don't know if anybody's ever had experience with that, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is surprising. They don't tell you.
Yeah.
How common do you think it is, Peter? Do you know?
Well, I can only speak for myself and this friend of mine.
As far as you're concerned, 100%, right?
Yeah. So some of it do get auxiliary, surgery for different things where we get put out. It's probably not, in our if we've ever had an RP, you go on a catheter anyway.
Right.
But if you do get some kind of surgery, or that maybe has nothing to do with your prostate cancer, just be on the lookout for it, because the tendency is to pin it to, oh, the surgeon messed up something in my prostate or something in my urinary tract, but not necessarily.
Interesting.
Well, we seem to be at a lull here. Anybody have any other burning issues that they want to discuss, or should we cut it short?
This is Jay Curran in San Francisco.
Yep.
And I had a question. It seemed like someone in the group was going to do LU-177 maybe about 6 months ago, and maybe they talked about it, and that would be in the file somewhere. Does anyone remember that?
Well,
Dr. Bill?
Two people I know are Dr. Steve Bornstein in San Francisco. I think he was doing it at Stanford or something, hanging out of his own file. But he hasn't been on the call in quite a while. I think Rick is still in touch with him. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what his experience was. And then Rick mentioned Rob Barniskis, who's our secretary treasurer of cancer care in Minnesota, and he's dealing with that right now, and he's having trouble with side effects. He's been going down to Houston for it.
Didn't Bill Burhans try that too, Peter?
I don't know whether Bill tried LU. He might have. I'm not positive on that.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it many times, Jay. If you go back and look at some of the videos, you might be able to find. Rick always adds a keyword thing.
Okay, good.
In the video descriptions, and you might be able to find it.
Good.
I'm trying to think who else it was. Maybe Jim Harrington, was he one? I don't know. I don't remember who. But
no,
yeah.
Jim Harrington, I think, did chemo for. He holds
That's
the
right.
world record for chemo, I think.
Yeah, you're right about that. But we've had many discussions about LU-177.
Right. And I know it'll come up as a hot topic at the PCRI conference. I know there's enough interest and questions about it and concerns about it that it'll come up for sure.
Okay.
Hey Jay, this is Brian. I was talking about it earlier. I'll let you know what I find out from this person I know in the support group. If you're interested.
I don't know if you're talking to Jay Curran, but I didn't hear what you said.
This is Brian Heisey. I talked about it earlier in regards to that I know someone who's possibly going to enter the phase 3 trial.
Oh.
For Edition 177, going through Mayo.
Okay.
So if you're interested, I can find out more information.
Okay, so how would we connect? I'm not, I'm all thumbs on the computer, so I'm not, I don't have a window or anything like that. I'm just on the phone.
I can give you my contact information, or maybe someone there can give you my contact information.
Or you
Okay, email.
Or Jake could give you his phone number too.
Okay.
If I have it, I'm not sure if I do, Peter.
Okay.
And if one of you is willing to give your phone number out right now, that'll make it easier. Rick keeps track of all that stuff. I'm not very good at keeping records.
Okay, I can give mine out.
Okay.
It's 415-648-8824.
I'm sorry, 415-648-8824?
Right.
Okay. I will probably give you a call in the next couple days when I find out more information.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, one of the concerns I always have about things like LU 177 is, you know, a lot of people kind of think of it as a last resort, the way chemo used to be thought of as a last resort. So so people wait until they're pretty darn sick and have tried everything else. And so I think that, you know, that factor can skew the results sometimes of how effective a treatment can be. You know, I don't know whether, I think that, as Rick pointed out, that they seem to have pretty good results, 50% in a small trial in Australia. But I don't know how sick, you know, those guys were, how much other treatment they had beforehand and so forth. You know, that's something I think about quite a bit for all kinds of treatments. Whether it would be more advantageous to start something earlier. I mean, I think about that with immunotherapy, with Provenge. You know, Provenge, you have to wait until you're castrate resistant. You know, that's because they did the trial with people like that. You can't try it until you're castrate resistant. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You know, it makes more sense to try things earlier to me than to wait until, you know, you've gone through everything else. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are on that.
That's Jay Kern. I did Provenge, and I think I forget the PSAs, but they weren't too high. They were 3 or 4 or 5. And during that Provenge treatment, which is about a month, it went up to 100. And then it came right down quickly on Zytiga. But so for some reason, Dr. Ryan, you know, he said I could go ahead with it. I don't think I was castrate resistant at that time. So anyway, that was my case.
Well, good. It's fortunate. Yeah, because you can't really tell from PSA whether the Provenge is working. It just
right.
Goes into you, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that they do generally recommend on Provenge is that your PSA is below 20, though. You know, it's not saying they won't give it to you, but I think generally they try to do it under 20 because that is a little bit more effective. And you said yours went up to 100 on Provenge or after Provenge or before you got on Provenge?
I would say when I was on Provenge, it was down in the single digits, and when I ended, it was 101.
Huh. That is a little bit unusual. Even though, as Peter says, you know, PSA is not a good indicator with Prevenge. It just doesn't measure. It's not a good measure. But good thing is you went back down on Zytiga, so you're in good shape.
Some people say, well, it makes the Zytiga work better, or something work better after you've had it.
Right.
Prevenge.
Interesting. Interesting.
Well, if nobody else has anything to talk about,
we can leave early. With me.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, guys. There'll be a meeting next.
Thank you.
There'll be a meeting next Tuesday. I can't remember when Rick comes back from England.
not till the end of the month. It'll be like the 24th, I think, or something.
Okay. Okay. So
I guess can you and Len do it again on next Tuesday?
Yeah. I'm not sure about myself. I think I'll be there. I fly into Minneapolis on Tuesday the 14th. But if I'm landed and there, I'll turn my computer on. That's Central Time, so it's about I should be able to be on. It should work for me.
Okay. So Sylvester, the call on Tuesday is at 6 o'clock Eastern Time.
On Tuesday at 6. Thanks so much.
I got to pick on you once in a while, Sylvester.
That sounds good, and it's perfectly okay. It keeps me awake.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, gentlemen.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
I got to figure out how to turn the recording off. Here we go.